Thanks for viewing the Massachusetts Speech and Debate League presentation on how to flow debate rounds. Flowing, or taking notes on what each team says, will help you keep track of the arguments in a debate round. If you are not already familiar with debate, you might want to view our presentation on judging public forum debate. People tend to develop their own style of flowing, and flows can look different, but flows tend to have some common elements. First, people often use two different colored pens. For prose speeches, they often use blue or black. For con, they usually use red. Second, flows consist of a series of columns, one for each speech. Within each column is an abbreviated outline of what was said. Why use narrow columns adjacent to each other? Why not use the full width of the page the way one might take notes in a lecture class? As we will see, flowing in adjacent columns helps keep track of how each side refutes their opponent's arguments, an important aspect of judging a debate round. Let's take a close look at what a flow might look like. Don't worry about the details of the arguments, and be assured that flowing will get easier as you get more practice and develop your own style. Let's say that the resolution is resolved. The United States federal government should enact the Medicare for All Act of 2019. Let's suppose that we're going to flow the speeches in these columns. We'll flow the pro case in the first column. The pro might read a case like this. We affirm the United States federal government should enact the Medicare for All Act of 2019. Currently, high prices have made healthcare unaffordable. Stein, writing in The Hill in June of this year, explains that America's uninsured population has eclipsed 28 million. Medicare for All would help, as we see in Contention 1. Medicare for All improves health. The program's central feature is that it provides government-funded health insurance for all Americans. That makes healthcare affordable. As the New York Times explained in 2020, Medicare for All would cover doctor visits, urgent care, and dental and eye care, all at no charge to the individual. Greater health care access would increase use of therapies. Professor John Smith at the Tufts University School of Medicine wrote in 2019 that people with health insurance coverage are twice as likely to get preventative care and timely treatment for acute conditions. The impact is saving lives. Lehman of Yale University in 2019 concludes that universal health insurance would save 68,000 lives a year. Now, in a real round, the pro's speech would be longer than what I just read to you. They might have a second contention, for example, but let's just focus on this first contention. We will flow the cons rebuttal in the next column. That speech might go something like this. On pro's first contention, their first link claims that Medicare for All would improve health, but there are a couple of problems. First, Medicare for All would not increase coverage much. Most people already have private insurance. Second, others are for the most part eligible for existing public insurance programs like Medicare and Medicaid. Pro then argues that Medicare for All would improve the care that Americans get. But as Jones of the Harvard Chan School explained in 2019, Medicare for All would cut payments to doctors, reducing the supply of doctors over the long run. Finally, Pro's impact of 68,000 lives a year is based on a study that is 10 years old and hence outdated. Now, subsequent speeches would show up to the right on this flow sheet. The next speech would be pro, and they might respond to Con's claim that most people already have insurance, and they might refute Con's claim that their study is outdated. Then it's Con's turn to speak. They might concede pro's argument that Medicare for All will increase health coverage, but they might point out that pro dropped their argument saying that Medicare for All will cut the supply of doctors. You might hear them say something like, pull our argument across the flow. Con might refute pro's defense of their study. Now remember, this is only part of the round. It isn't all the speeches, and it only shows the back and forth pertaining to pro's case, that is, the pro side of the flow. In a debate round, there are two cases, a pro case and a con case, and there are all the arguments that go with each case. Debaters often refer to the two sides of the flow, the pro side and the con side. I like to have a sheet of paper for each side of the flow. The first sheet is for the pro side of the flow, that is, the pro case, and the responses to those points. The first column has the pro's case. To the right are the responses pertaining to pro's case. The other sheet is for the con side of the flow. That is the con case and the responses to those points. That sheet looks very similar to the pro side of the flow, but we instead start with the con case. Let's talk in a bit more detail about the columns on each side of the flow, but I want to first remind you of the speeches in the round. A public forum debate round has 8 speeches. Each team first lays out a 4-minute case. Each team then gives a 4-minute rebuttal. Then each team gives a 3-minute summary. Finally, each team gives a 2-minute final focus speech. Note, in this example, pro spoke first, but in some rounds, con will speak first. Finally, this illustration does not list the cross-examination periods. Judges typically do not flow cross-X. Now, with that in mind, here are the 2 flow sheets that we introduced a little while ago. I'm going to zoom in on them. And to fit the sketches onto the slide, let's suppose that I tear off the bottom portion of each flow sheet. Here are the top sections of our 2 flow sheets, with each sheet enlarged. The top sheet is the pro side of the flow. It starts with the pro case in the far left column. The bottom sheet is the con side of the flow. It starts with the con case in the far left column. In this round, the pro spoke first, so the pro delivers the first rebuttal. The only thing that pro can respond to is the con case. So the entire pro rebuttal, the third speech in the round, gets flowed on the con side of the flow, adjacent to the con case. Next, the con delivers its rebuttal, the 4th speech in the round. The con rebuttal can address both the pro case and the pro rebuttal. So you may end up flowing this speech on both the pro and the con sides of the flow. Now, from this point forward, there should be no new arguments in the round. The debaters should instead sort out what has been said until now and explain why their side should win. The next speech, the 5th speech in the round, is the pro summary. The summary covers both sides of the flow, as do all of the remaining speeches. The con gives their summary next. Next is the pro final focus speech, which sums up the round and makes a final case for why pro should win. After the pro final focus, the con delivers their final focus. Now, by flowing in columns, you can put the responses to the right of the points being rebutted. The debater should help you by clearly indicating where they are on the flow, called signposting. In addition, the flow helps you see what arguments each side has dropped. If there's a blank spot to the right of a point, it indicates that one side did not respond to an argument. Now, a few things to note about flowing. First, you can use more than 2 sheets of paper. You can use a couple of sheets for each side for more space. Second, your flow need not be neat. Here's what my flow looks like. Whatever works for you is fine. Thanks again for judging.